Hey everyone, today I'm going to go over my Yamaha Seika as if it was a bike that I was thinking about buying. First thing is, does it start? I know this bike starts, but ask the people you're buying your bike from if it will start and have them start it for you. If it doesn't, you can usually talk them down quite a bit on the price. Another thing to look at, look inside the tank, bring a flashlight with you, see if there's any rust, because if rust gets loose in the tank and goes into the carburetors, well, it's just more work. Big ticket items to look for. Look at the tires, look at the sidewall, and look in the little tread and make sure it's not weather checked. Another thing is, if it's kind of flat in the center, that means it's worn. But worn tires aren't bad, it's just that you'll have to replace them a little bit sooner than if they were new. But if the sidewalls or the tread's cracked, it's probably dangerous to drive on. With older bikes, you want to look at the engine and see how here, where it's dry, and now down here it's wet. I actually need to put a gasket in there. If you look at the fuel hose and you look at the boots for the carburetors, if those are cracked, the bike probably isn't going to run right, especially if the boots are cracked, because it'll pull air in where it's not supposed to. Fuel hose is cheap to replace, but if they went through the trouble of putting an extra filter in the fuel line, it probably means they cared about the bike. While you're over here, look at the petcock and see if that's leaking. Rebuild kits for that are pretty easy to install, and I believe I have one of my videos on the Honda SL where I did rebuild one. Side covers, anywhere from $20 to $200 to replace. Look for cracks. Check out the seat. See if there's any little rips in it. That's a cheap piece to replace. A big ticket item would be the exhaust. This is a Mac exhaust, and I know that these canister types, they get a little water in them and then they'll rust out and blow out the bottom, especially the turnout kind. An exhaust system like this is $280 approximately, so that's something that you'll really want to make sure is okay. Otherwise, if it's not, you can use that to talk the people down on the price. You want to look at the battery if it's possible. I know the battery in here is good. Make sure it's got water in it before you try and run it or drive it very far. Batteries are usually $50 to $100. Like with any vehicle, you want to make sure all the lights and switches work, but grips are cheap to replace. On the front, you want to look and see if there's any film on the forks, and if there is, you probably have a leaking fork seal. If these dust seals are bad, if they're cracked, they're going to let stuff get down into the seal and ruin the seal. Those are about $100 on the cheap side to replace. This bike, I had someone else do it for me just because I'm not experienced with forks. I think it was $120 about to do 2 fork seals, 2 dust seals, and put fluid in it. With disc brakes, you want to make sure they actually work. So before you take it out on a ride, use the brakes and see if you can still roll it, because with old bikes, if you move them and they haven't been used in a long time, they'll just stick and stay on, and that's incredibly dangerous. You could lock a front tire, crash, and die. With metal fenders and plastic ones, I guess, you want to look and see if it's cracked. Scuff paint, no big deal, but if it's cracked, bodywork on these old bikes is hard to come by. Another thing you want to look for, broken levers and dinged up bar ends. Now mine fell over in the garage, but if the handlebars are bent or if there's broken levers, a lot of times on these older bikes with the big turn signals, they'll bend the turn signals. It means it's been down, and that's not a good thing. Even a small crash with a bike, you know, a 10-mile-an-hour crash could bend the frame of a bike and it wouldn't ride straight. But other than just finding little oil leaks, checking to make sure the oil filter bolt is not mangled, looking at all the rubber pieces. A lot of the times these old bikes, I mean, you can get them cheap, but the thing is, they'll nickel and dime you to death. I mean, this bike looks really good from the outside, and I've already put $150, $160 into it, but the thing is, it needs gaskets. If this was a bike that I was buying and I wasn't aware of its maintenance, you don't know if the oil's been changed or if the rear end fluid's been changed or anything like that. So if they say they changed the oil, most of the time they haven't. They're just saying that so you think it's a better deal. So when you get an old bike like this, you'll have to go through everything. Change the fluids in the engine, change the fluids in the rear end if it's a shaft drive, check the chain, lubricate the chain if it's a chain drive. You know, $2 filter, $5 hose, that stuff adds up. So what seems like a really good deal on an old bike could end up costing you a lot more than you think it would. So just be careful when you buy these old bikes. But you know, they are fun. It's nice to have something old like this, but like I told you, they will nickel and dime you to death. If you have any questions about buying used bikes, let me know in the comments section below, and I'll try and answer them as I can.